The evening settles around you like a gentle embrace, and perhaps tonight your heart carries more weight than it should. The day has left its marks, hasn't it? Those worries that follow you into the darkness, the thoughts that circle like restless birds unable to find their place to land. But here, in this moment, as the world grows quiet and the night draws its soft curtain across the sky, there is an invitation waiting for you. An invitation to lay down those burdens that have grown too heavy for your shoulders. To release the grip your mind has held so tightly on tomorrow's uncertainties and yesterday's regrets. Listen, can you hear it? The whisper of wind through the trees outside your window. The distant hum of a world settling into rest. Even creation knows when it is time to be still, when the frenetic pace of daylight must give way to the deeper rhythms of peace. And you, dear soul, you too are invited into this stillness. Not the kind of quiet that feels empty or hollow, but the kind that feels full of presence, rich with the nearness of one who never sleeps, never slumbers, never turns away from the cry of a troubled heart. Take a breath now, slow and deep. Feel the air fill your lungs. Feel your chest rise and fall in the ancient rhythm that has sustained every living thing since the very first breath was breathed into Adam's nostrils. This breath, this simple act of breathing, is itself a prayer, a declaration that life continues, that hope endures, that even in the darkest night, there is something within you that reaches toward the light. Your breath is a testament to the faithfulness of God, who sustains every heartbeat, who counts every tear, who knows every thought before it fully forms in your mind. The psalmist David knew this feeling you carry tonight. He knew what it meant to lie awake while worry gnawed at his peace, to feel the weight of responsibility pressing down like stones upon his chest. He knew the loneliness that comes when everyone else seems to be resting peacefully while your mind races through endless corridors of what if and what now. But David also knew something else. He knew the secret of finding rest, not in the absence of trouble, but in the presence of the Almighty. He learned to turn his restless thoughts into conversations with God, to transform his midnight anxieties into prayers that pierced the darkness and found their way to the throne of grace. Tonight, as you listen to these words, imagine yourself not alone in your bedroom or wherever you find yourself, but seated beside still waters, the kind David wrote about in that most beloved of all psalms. Picture it clearly in your mind's eye. The water is so still, it looks like glass, reflecting the last golden light of evening. The surface is unmarked by wind or wave, a perfect mirror that seems to hold the entire sky in its depths. This is not just any body of water. This is the kind of water that speaks of peace that passes understanding, of rest that goes deeper than sleep, of a calm that settles into the very core of your being. The grass beneath you is soft and cool, each blade tender with evening dew. You can feel the earth supporting you, solid and sure, a reminder that you are held by something far greater than yourself. The air carries the scent of wildflowers, sweet and clean, washing away the stale heaviness of worry that has clung to you throughout the day. In this place, in this moment, time moves differently. The urgency that drives your days has no power here. The deadlines and demands that usually shout for your attention have grown quiet, their voices unable to penetrate this sanctuary of peace. And there, walking toward you across the soft grass, is the Good Shepherd himself. His approach is unhurried, his steps sure and gentle. There is something about the way he moves that immediately puts your heart at ease. This is not someone who will judge you for your restlessness, who will be impatient with your fears, who will minimize your struggles or offer empty platitudes. This is someone who knows what it means to be human, who has felt the full weight of sorrow and anxiety, who understands the particular burden of a heart that loves deeply in a world that often breaks that love. His eyes meet yours, and in them you see not disappointment or frustration, but something that takes your breath away with its tenderness. You see understanding that goes deeper than words, compassion that needs no explanation, love that asks for nothing in return. He sits beside you on the soft grass, and his presence immediately begins to work like medicine in your weary soul. The tightness in your chest starts to ease. The knot in your stomach begins to loosen. The racing thoughts that have been running endless laps in your mind start to slow their frantic pace. He speaks, and his voice carries the authority of one who spoke the stars into existence, yet the gentleness of one who calls his sheep by name. Be still, he says, and the words seem to settle into your bones. Be still and know that I am God. This is not a command shouted from a distance, but an invitation whispered close to your ear. Be still, not because you have to, but because you can. Not because worry is wrong, but because worry is unnecessary when you are held in arms that are stronger than any force that could come against you. The phrase echoes in your mind, taking on new layers of meaning with each repetition. Be still. Let the striving cease. Let the struggle end. Let the desperate attempt to control outcomes that are beyond your reach finally come to rest. Be still and know. Not think, not figure out, not solve or fix or manage, but know. The kind of knowing that goes deeper than intellectual understanding. The kind of knowing that settles into your spirit like seeds into fertile soil. Know that I am God. Not was, not will be, but am. Present tense. Right here, right now, in this moment, in this place, in this very breath you are taking. As these words work their way into your heart, you become aware of something shifting in the atmosphere around you. The quality of the light is changing, growing softer, more golden. The still waters before you seem to glow with their own inner radiance, as if lit from beneath by some celestial source. The evening air grows warmer, more embracing, like being wrapped in the most comfortable blanket you have ever known. And slowly, so gradually that you almost miss it at first, the sound begins. It starts as barely more than a whisper, a gentle humming that seems to come from the water itself. But as you listen, you begin to recognize it as singing. Not the kind of singing you might hear in a concert hall or even in church, but something far more ancient and beautiful. It is the sound of creation itself joining in praise, the harmony of all things working together in perfect unity. The grass seems to sing as the evening breeze moves through it. The flowers add their sweet voices to the chorus. Even the stones seem to hum with quiet joy. And then you realize that this is what David heard on those nights when sleep eluded him. This is what Isaiah glimpsed when he saw the seraphim covering their faces before the throne of God. This is what the disciples experienced on the Mount of Transfiguration when Jesus was revealed in his glory. This is the eternal song that is always playing just beneath the surface of our everyday awareness. The song that declares that all is well, that love wins, that hope is never misplaced, that peace is not just a distant dream, but a present reality waiting to be embraced. The Good Shepherd beside you begins to speak again, but this time his words take on the rhythm and flow of poetry, the ancient poetry of the Psalms that have brought comfort to countless souls across the centuries. The Lord is my shepherd, he says, and immediately you understand that these are not just words on a page, but a lived reality, a daily experience, a truth that transforms everything it touches. I shall not want. Let that sink in for a moment. I shall not want. Not I will try not to want. Not I should not want, but I shall not want. It is a statement of fact, a declaration of reality, a promise that goes deeper than circumstances. When the Lord is your shepherd, when you truly understand what that means and live from that understanding, want becomes impossible. Not because you have everything you think you need, but because you realize that you already have everything you actually need. The one who is with you is enough, more than enough, infinitely, abundantly, eternally enough. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Can you see them now? These are not the sparse, rocky fields where sheep might graze out of desperation, but the richest, most nourishing grassland imaginable. The kind of pasture where every blade of grass is tender and sweet, where the very ground seems to pulse with life and vitality. This is where the Good Shepherd leads you when you allow yourself to be led, not to places of scarcity and struggle, but to places of abundance and rest. And notice, he makes me lie down. Sometimes in our driven, restless culture, we need to be made to rest. We need someone with authority and love to tell us that it is not just okay, but necessary to stop striving, to stop pushing, to simply lie down and let ourselves be nourished. He leads me beside still waters. There they are again, those waters that reflect the sky, that mirror the peace of heaven itself. He leads you there not by force or manipulation, but by gentle guidance, showing you the way to the place your soul has been longing for without even knowing it. Still waters. Not rushing rivers that carry you along faster than you want to go. Not turbulent seas that threaten to overwhelm you, but still waters where you can see clearly, where you can hear yourself think, where you can remember who you are and whose you are. He restores my soul. Feel those words settling into the deep places of your heart. He restores my soul. This is not just repair work, patching up the broken pieces and sending you back into battle. This is restoration in the truest sense, bringing you back to your original design, back to the person you were created to be, before life wore you down and circumstances convinced you that peace was impossible. Your soul, that eternal part of you that is made in the image of God Himself, is being restored right now, in this moment. As you rest in His presence and allow His words to wash over you like healing water. He guides me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Even when you cannot see the way forward, even when the path ahead is shrouded in uncertainty, there is one who knows the way because He is the way. He guides you not because you deserve it, not because you have earned it, but for His name's sake, because of who He is, because of His character, because of His commitment to love that never fails and mercy that is new every morning. The path He leads you on is the path of righteousness, not in the sense of moral perfection that you must achieve, but in the sense of being made right with God, of being aligned with His purposes, of walking in harmony with His heart. The light continues to fade around you, but somehow instead of growing darker, everything seems to glow with a soft inner illumination. It is as if the approaching night is not the absence of light, but the presence of a different kind of light, the light that shines in the darkness and is not overcome by it. The Good Shepherd's voice continues, weaving the ancient words of the psalm through the fabric of this holy evening, each phrase dropping into your spirit like stones into a deep well, sending ripples of peace through every part of your being. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Here is the heart of it, the core truth that changes everything. Life will have its valleys, its dark passages, its times when shadows seem to overwhelm the light. This is not denied or minimized or explained away. The valley of the shadow of death is real, and you may be walking through such a valley right now. But notice what the psalmist does not say. He does not say he will not encounter the valley. He does not promise that faith will somehow exempt him from difficult passages. Instead, he declares that he will not fear evil, and he tells us why. You are with me. This is not the distant presence of a God who watches from afar, not the theoretical companionship of a divine being who remains safely removed from human struggle. This is the immediate, intimate, personal presence of one who walks beside you, who knows your name, who counts your tears, who feels your pain as if it were his own, because in the mystery of divine love, it is his own. You are with me, present tense, right here, right now. In whatever valley you are walking through, you are not walking alone. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. The shepherd's tools become instruments of comfort, symbols of protection and guidance that go with you wherever you go. The rod to defend against predators, the staff to guide and rescue. You are equipped not just with your own strength and wisdom, which would never be enough, but with the strength and wisdom of the Almighty Himself. These tools of the shepherd are always within reach, always ready to be employed on your behalf, always sufficient for whatever challenge or danger you might face. The scene around you shifts slightly, and you find yourself at a table, beautifully set and laden with food that makes your mouth water just looking at it. But this is not just any table, and this is not just any meal. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Here is one of the most startling images in all of Scripture. God does not wait until your enemies are defeated to spread a feast for you. He does not delay your blessing until your circumstances are perfect. Right here, right now, in the midst of whatever opposes you, whatever threatens you, whatever seeks to diminish you, a table is prepared. A feast is spread. You are invited to sit down and be nourished, to be strengthened, to be celebrated, while your enemies look on in amazement. Can you see them, these enemies that have been hounding you? Perhaps they wear the face of anxiety, always whispering about terrible things that might happen. Maybe they look like depression, constantly telling you that you are worthless and that things will never get better. They might appear as doubt, questioning every decision you make and every hope you dare to hold. Or they could manifest as loneliness, convincing you that you are forgotten and unloved, that you matter to no one. There they are, on the edges of this sacred space, still present, but suddenly powerless. They can look, but they cannot touch. They can observe, but they cannot interfere. The table is set, the feast is prepared, and you are the honored guest. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Feel the cool, sweet oil being poured over your head, running down your face, soaking into your hair and skin. This is not just a ceremonial gesture, but a declaration of your identity. You are anointed, chosen, set apart, beloved. The oil carries with it all the fragrance of heaven, all the blessing of God, all the promise of a future that is brighter than anything you can imagine. And your cup runs over. Not just filled, not just adequate, but overflowing. There is more than enough. More love than you can contain, more grace than you can exhaust, more hope than you can use up, more peace than you can fully comprehend. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. These are not uncertain hopes or wishful thoughts, but declarations of absolute certainty. Surely, without doubt, without question, without exception. Goodness and mercy are not distant possibilities, but present companions, following you like faithful dogs who never leave their master's side. Every day of your life, not just the good days, not just the easy days, but all the days. And this following is not temporary, but leads to an eternal dwelling, a permanent residence in the house of the Lord, where peace is not an occasional visitor, but the very atmosphere you breathe. The Good Shepherd's voice grows softer now, more intimate, as if he is speaking directly into your ear, sharing secrets that are meant for you alone. The evening has deepened into true night, but the darkness is not frightening or oppressive. Instead, it feels like a warm blanket being pulled up to your chin, like being tucked in by loving hands, like being surrounded by safety and care. The stars have appeared overhead, not the dim, struggling lights visible from the city, but the brilliant, countless points of light that shine when darkness is deep enough to let their glory show. Each star seems to pulse with its own rhythm, and you realize that they are like the promises of God, numerous beyond counting. Each one burning with the fire of divine faithfulness, each one steady and sure despite the darkness that surrounds them. The constellations tell stories of God's faithfulness across the ages, of his covenant love that never fails, of his mercy that is new every morning. The Big Dipper pours out blessing like water from heaven. Orion stands as a mighty hunter, protecting all who trust in the Lord. The Southern Cross points always toward hope, toward redemption, toward the love that conquered death itself. And there, brightest of all, is the North Star, steady and unchanging, the fixed point by which travelers have navigated for thousands of years. This is what God's love is like, what his promises are like, what his presence in your life is like. Everything else may shift and change. Circumstances may fluctuate like weather. Emotions may rise and fall like tides, but his love remains constant. His faithfulness endures from generation to generation. His peace stands like a lighthouse in the storm, always ready to guide you safely home. The Good Shepherd begins to share another psalm, one that speaks directly to the anxiety that may be keeping your mind racing even now. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Listen to the way those words settle into the night air, how they seem to take on weight and substance, becoming more than just sounds, but actual realities that you can lean against, actual truths that can bear the full weight of your worry. God is our refuge. Picture a refuge now, not just a temporary shelter from the storm, but a place so secure, so impregnable, so perfectly designed for protection that nothing can reach you there. This is not a refuge you have to find or fight your way to, but one that surrounds you even now, that has always surrounded you, that will always be there, no matter how lost you might feel. The walls of this refuge are not made of stone or steel, but of love itself. Love so strong that it casts out fear. Love so deep that it covers every sin. Love so wide that it encompasses every failure and every shame. And strength. Not your own strength, which comes and goes, which fails you at the worst possible moments, which never seems adequate for the challenges you face. But God's strength, strength that spoke the universe into existence, strength that holds every star in its place, strength that raised Jesus from the dead, and will one day make all things new. This strength is not added to your own like a supplement, but becomes your strength, flows through you like electricity through a wire, transforms your weakness into power that astonishes even you. A very present help in trouble, not a distant help that might arrive someday if conditions are right, not a theoretical help that exists only in books and sermons, not a help that requires you to prove your worthiness before it can be activated, but a very present help, help that is here now, help that is aware of your specific trouble, help that is already at work even before you know how to ask for it. This help knows your name, knows your story, knows exactly what you need and exactly when you need it. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. What an image this paints in the mind. The most catastrophic disasters imaginable, the very foundations of the earth shaking and dissolving, the mountains themselves, those symbols of permanence and stability, crashing into the sea. And yet, in the face of all this chaos, all this uncertainty, all this terror, the response is not fear but trust. Not because the disasters are not real or not serious, but because there is one who is more real, more powerful, more reliable than even the earth itself. The waters may roar and foam, the mountains may quake, but there is a deeper truth, a more fundamental reality. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. Can you hear it now? Beneath the noise of your worries, beneath the chaos of the world's troubles, beneath the roar of everything that seems to be falling apart, there is a river, quiet and clear and life-giving, flowing through the center of God's city, bringing refreshment and joy and peace to all who dwell there. This river does not depend on earthly rainfall or seasonal floods. It springs from the throne of God itself, flowing with the water of life, the kind of water that Jesus promised would become in those who drink it a spring welling up to eternal life. This river never runs dry, never becomes polluted, never changes course. It flows through the darkest nights and the most difficult seasons, carrying with it all the blessing and provision and comfort that heaven can supply. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. The city of God, that place of refuge and peace, where your soul finds its true home, has God at its very center, not just visiting occasionally, not just checking in from time to time, but dwelling there permanently, making his presence the very foundation upon which everything else is built. Because God is within her, because his presence is the source of her strength and stability, she will not fall. No matter what forces array themselves against her, no matter what storms may rage around her walls, no matter what enemies may threaten her peace, she will not fall. And God will help her at break of day. There is something especially beautiful about this timing. Help comes at break of day, at that magical moment when darkness begins to yield to light, when hope starts to pierce through despair, when new possibilities emerge from the night's uncertainties. This is when God's help arrives, not too early when it might not be fully appreciated. Not too late when fear has already done its damage, but right at break of day, right when you need it most, right when you are ready to receive it. The nations are in uproar, the kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. All around you, it may seem like everything is falling apart. Nations in uproar, kingdoms falling, systems that seemed permanent and reliable proving to be temporary and fragile. But in the midst of all this chaos, all this uncertainty, all this upheaval, there is a voice, not shouting to be heard above the noise, not straining to compete with the clamor of the world, but simply lifting itself with quiet authority. And when it does, the earth melts. Not in destruction, but in submission. Not in fear, but in recognition of the one whose word has final authority over every situation. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Here is the refrain that runs through this psalm like a golden thread, the truth that ties everything together and makes sense of all the rest. The Lord Almighty, the one who commands the armies of heaven, the one whose power is unlimited and whose wisdom is perfect, is with us. Not above us looking down with distant concern, not beside us offering occasional assistance, but with us in the most intimate, personal, immediate sense. Emmanuel, God with us, walking through every valley, sitting at every table, standing guard through every night. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Jacob, that flawed and complicated man who wrestled with God and was transformed by the encounter. Jacob, who knew what it meant to struggle and doubt and make mistakes, who experienced both the consequences of his failures and the overwhelming grace of God's love. This is the God who specializes in working with imperfect people, who takes our wrestling and transforms it into blessing, who uses our very weaknesses as the raw material for his greatest works. This God is not just the God of the spiritually mature, the God of those who have it all figured out, but the God of Jacob, the God of strugglers, the God of those who are still learning what it means to trust. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. The invitation comes now to shift perspective, to lift your eyes beyond your immediate circumstances and see the bigger picture, the broader canvas on which God is working. Yes, there are desolations, places where destruction has done its work, situations where the old has been torn down and cleared away. But these desolations are not random or meaningless. They are purposeful, preparing the ground for something new, something better, something more aligned with God's ultimate plan for peace and restoration. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. The weapons of war, the instruments of conflict and division, the tools that humans use to hurt and destroy each other, all of these are ultimately powerless against the purposes of God. He does not simply overcome them with greater weapons, does not fight fire with fire, but renders them obsolete by transforming hearts, by changing the very desires that drive people to conflict in the first place. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And here we come full circle, back to that original invitation, that fundamental call to stillness that is not emptiness but fullness, not absence but presence, not silence but the deepest kind of communication. Be still. Let the striving cease. Let the anxiety quiet. Let the restless searching come to rest. And know that I am God. Know it not just intellectually but experientially, not just as a fact to be believed, but as a reality to be lived, not just as a truth about the universe, but as the truth about your universe, your life, your situation, your future. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. The refrain echoes once more as the stars wheel overhead in their ancient dance, as the night settles more deeply around you, as your breathing naturally slows and deepens, as your heart finds its rhythm matching the steady, eternal heartbeat of the one who never sleeps, never slumbers, never for a moment stops watching over you with eyes full of love. But the Psalms have more to offer this troubled night, more medicine for the anxious soul, more comfort for the restless heart. Another voice joins the good shepherds, Another song rises from the still waters. Another poem of peace unfolds like a flower blooming in the darkness. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Picture those mountains now, rising up against the star-filled sky, massive and majestic and seemingly unmovable. In the ancient world, people often looked to the mountains as symbols of strength and permanence, as homes of the gods, as sources of help and protection. But the psalmist looks beyond the mountains themselves to their creator, beyond the symbol to the reality it points toward. The mountains are impressive, but the one who made them with a word is infinitely more so. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Not from my own efforts, not from my accumulated wisdom, not from my network of friends and family, not from my bank account or my insurance policies or my carefully laid plans. These are all good things in their place, but they are not the source of help. The source is the Lord, the one whose very name means I am, the one who exists in eternal presence, who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The maker of heaven and earth, the one whose creativity spoke galaxies into existence, whose power holds every atom in its proper place, whose love is the force that keeps the universe from flying apart. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Can you feel the personal care in these words? The individual attention being promised? Your foot, your specific step, your particular path is being watched and guarded by one who never grows tired, never becomes distracted, never takes a break from his vigilant care. Every step you take, every decision you make, every path you choose to walk is known to him and covered by his protection. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. While you rest tonight, while you surrender to sleep and allow your conscious mind to quiet, there is one who remains awake, who maintains the watch, who keeps guard over all that concerns you. This is not a God who needs rest, who might miss something important while he is sleeping, who could be caught off guard by unexpected developments. This is a God whose attention never wavers, whose care never diminishes, whose love never takes a vacation. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. Imagine this protection surrounding you like a personal climate, a sphere of perfect comfort that moves with you wherever you go. The sun, with all its power and heat, cannot harm you because the Lord himself is your shade, providing exactly the right amount of protection at exactly the right time. And even the moon, which in ancient times was sometimes associated with madness and evil influence, has no power to hurt you because you dwell in the shadow of the Almighty. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. All harm. Not just some harm, not just the worst kinds of harm, but all harm. This does not mean that difficult things will never happen to you, but it means that nothing can ultimately harm you. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. Nothing can thwart his purposes for your life or diminish your value in his eyes. He watches over your life not just in the big moments, but in every coming and going, every ordinary Tuesday, every routine errand, every small decision that seems insignificant, but contributes to the larger tapestry of your story, both now and forevermore. This watching, this protection, this care is not temporary. It does not expire when you reach a certain age, or when your circumstances change, or when you make mistakes, or when you go through difficult seasons. Now and forevermore, present and future, time and eternity, earth and heaven, all covered by the same unwavering attention, the same unending love. As these promises settle into your spirit, like snow falling on quiet ground, another psalm begins to rise from the still waters, another song of comfort for the troubled soul. This one speaks directly to those nights when sleep seems impossible, when the mind races through endless corridors of worry, when peace feels like a luxury you cannot afford. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. In peace. Not after achieving peace, not once peace has been established in all your circumstances, not when you have finally solved all your problems and tied up all the loose ends, but in peace right now, as things are, in the midst of whatever uncertainty or difficulty you are facing. Peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of God in the trouble. Peace is not having all the answers, but trusting the one who does. Peace is not controlling all the outcomes, but resting in the hands that control the universe. I will lie down and sleep. Such a simple declaration, but what trust it contains, what surrender it represents. To lie down is to assume a position of vulnerability, to give up the illusion of control, to acknowledge that there are forces at work that are bigger than you and beyond your management. To sleep is to release your grip on consciousness, to trust that the world will continue to exist and function, even when you are not actively participating in its management, to believe that there is someone else keeping watch while you rest. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. The safety is not in circumstances that cannot change, not in situations that are guaranteed to remain stable, not in people who will never let you down or systems that will never fail. The safety is in the Lord Himself, in His character, in His promises, in His love that never fails and mercy that is new every morning. You alone. Not you plus my own efforts, not you plus perfect circumstances, not you plus the approval of others, but you alone. This is where safety is found, in the exclusive trust placed in the one who is absolutely trustworthy. The night grows deeper around you, but somehow the darkness feels less oppressive now, less threatening. It has become a friend rather than an enemy, a cocoon of rest rather than a void of fear. The Good Shepherd's voice continues, weaving through the night air like incense, carrying with it the fragrance of heaven, the sweetness of promises kept, the comfort of love that never lets go. Another song rises now, one that speaks to those whose hearts are breaking, whose spirits are crushed by the weight of disappointment, or loss, or betrayal. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Feel the tenderness in those words, the way they acknowledge without minimizing the reality of heartbreak, the way they offer hope without denying pain. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, not distant, not removed, not waiting for you to fix yourself before He will come near. Close, intimately near. So near that He can hear the faintest whisper of your pain. So near that He can feel the irregular rhythm of your wounded heart. So near that your tears become His tears, your sorrow becomes His sorrow. The brokenhearted are not forgotten or overlooked or considered too damaged for divine attention. They are the ones to whom the Lord draws especially close, the ones who receive His most tender care, and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The word saves here carries all the weight of divine rescue, of intervention by one who has the power to change everything, of deliverance that comes not from human effort, but from divine grace. Crushed in spirit, feeling as if the very essence of who you are has been damaged beyond repair, feeling as if hope itself has been ground to dust, feeling as if there is nothing left of the person you used to be. Even there, especially there, salvation comes. Not just salvation from sin, though that too, but salvation from despair, rescue from the crushing weight of circumstances that seem too heavy to bear. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. Notice that trouble is not denied or minimized. The righteous person, the one who loves God and seeks to follow His ways, may have many troubles. Not a few troubles, not an occasional difficulty, but many troubles. This is the realistic assessment of what it means to live in a fallen world, what it means to have a heart that loves in a place where love often leads to pain. But troubles, however many they may be, are not the final word. The Lord delivers him from them all. Not from some of them, not from the easy ones, not from the ones that are socially acceptable or spiritually impressive. From them all, every single one. Some through changing circumstances, some through changing hearts, some through providing strength to endure, Some through opening doors that seemed permanently closed. Some through bringing beauty from ashes in ways that we could never have imagined. All of them. Every trouble that has ever touched your life, every sorrow that has ever weighed down your soul, every fear that has ever robbed you of sleep, every worry that has ever stolen your peace, all of them are known to the one who specializes in deliverance, who makes a way where there seems to be no way, who brings life out of death and hope out of despair. The Good Shepherd rises now and begins to walk along the shore of the still waters, and you find yourself walking beside him, your bare feet cool in the soft sand, your heart lighter with each step. The conversation continues, but now it feels less like listening to someone speak and more like being spoken to directly, less like hearing about God's love and more like experiencing it, less like learning theology and more like living relationship. He speaks of another psalm, one that captures the wonder and humility of understanding your place in the vast universe that God has created. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them, human beings that you care for them? Look up now at those stars wheeling overhead, those points of light that have guided travelers and inspired poets and sparked wonder in human hearts since the beginning of time. Consider the sheer scale of what you are seeing. Each star is a sun, many of them larger and brighter than our own, burning with nuclear fire across distances so vast that their light has traveled for years, sometimes centuries, just to reach our eyes tonight. The nearest star beyond our sun is so far away that if you could travel at the speed of light, it would take over 4 years to reach it. And there are billions upon billions of such stars, gathered into galaxies that stretch across space in formations so immense that they dwarf human comprehension. The work of your fingers, not the work of impersonal forces, not the result of random chance, not the product of cosmic accident, but the work of fingers. The same fingers that formed Adam from the dust of the earth, that wrote the 10 Commandments on tablets of stone, that touched the eyes of the blind and made them see. Personal fingers, creative fingers, fingers guided by infinite intelligence and motivated by perfect love. Every star placed with intention, every constellation arranged with purpose, every galaxy positioned according to a design that encompasses not just physical beauty, but spiritual meaning. What is mankind that you are mindful of them? In the face of such cosmic vastness, the question becomes unavoidable. What are we, really? Specks of dust on a small planet, orbiting an ordinary star in an unremarkable galaxy, among billions of galaxies. From one perspective, yes, the universe is so large, and we are so small that it seems almost absurd to think that we matter at all, that our brief lives and small concerns could be of any significance to the one who manages such incomprehensible immensity. But the psalm does not end with our smallness. It marvels at the paradox, the stunning reality that defies all logic and overwhelms the heart with gratitude. You are mindful of them, the God who sets stars in their courses, who calls each one by name, who knows when a sparrow falls to the ground. This same God is mindful of you. He thinks about you. He pays attention to your life. He knows your name, your story, your struggles, your dreams, your fears, your hopes. You are not lost in the crowd of humanity, not overlooked in the vastness of creation, not too small to matter to the one who is infinite. Human beings that you care for them, care, not just awareness, not just acknowledgement, not just cosmic bookkeeping, but care. The kind of care that involves emotion, that includes investment, that leads to action. The kind of care that a parent has for a child, that a shepherd has for sheep, that a gardener has for precious plants. You are cared for by the Creator of the universe, watched over by the one who never sleeps, loved by the one whose love is the source of all other love. You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor. Here is the stunning truth about human identity, about what it means to be made in the image of God. You are not an accident or an afterthought or a cosmic mistake. You are a deliberate creation, carefully designed, purposefully placed in this universe at this time for reasons that stretch into eternity. A little lower than the angels, but crowned with glory and honor, crowned like royalty, like someone born to rule, to have dominion, to carry the authority and responsibility of representing the King of Kings in this realm. You made them rulers over the works of your hands. You put everything under their feet. This is the divine calling of humanity, the reason you are created, the purpose that gives meaning to your existence. You are meant to be a ruler, but not a tyrant, a steward, but not an owner, a representative of divine authority, but always accountable to the one who gave you that authority. Everything under your feet, not as a permission to exploit or destroy, but as a sacred trust to nurture and protect and develop according to divine principles. As these truths settle into your consciousness, like seeds finding fertile ground, the Good Shepherd guides you to a place where the grass grows, especially soft and thick, where wildflowers bloom even in the darkness, where the air itself seems to shimmer with invisible blessing. Here you sit together, the creator of the universe, and you, as intimate as old friends, as comfortable as family, as natural as if this is exactly where you have always belonged. He speaks now of another song, one that acknowledges the struggles and victories of faith, the seasons of difficulty, and the celebrations of deliverance. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. I waited patiently for the Lord. Consider what patience means in the context of desperate need, of urgent crisis, of situations that seem to demand immediate action. Patience is not passive resignation or helpless inactivity. Patience is active trust, confident expectation, a kind of waiting that a child does when a loving parent has promised to return. Patience is the decision to let God work in His timing rather than demanding that He conform to yours. A choice to trust His wisdom about when and how to intervene rather than insisting on your own understanding of what needs to happen. He turned to me and heard my cry. When God's timing is right, when the season of waiting has accomplished its purpose, when your heart is ready to receive what He wants to give, He turns. Not reluctantly, not with annoyance at being bothered, not with frustration at your impatience, but with love, with joy, with the eagerness of a father responding to a child's voice. He heard my cry. Every word, every sob, every whispered prayer in the middle of sleepless nights, every desperate plea bargained in moments of crisis, every tear that fell when you thought no one was watching, all of it heard, all of it recorded, all of it precious to the one who bottles up your tears and numbers every hair on your head. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. What a vivid picture this paints of the human condition, of the places we sometimes find ourselves through our own choices or circumstances beyond our control. The slimy pit, the mud and mire, places where you cannot get solid footing, where every attempt to climb out only leads to deeper sinking, where the walls are too steep and slippery for human effort to overcome. Depression can be such a pit. Addiction can be such a pit. Despair, bitterness, unforgiveness, fear. Any number of things can become the mud and mire that traps you in places you never intended to go and cannot escape through willpower alone. But He lifted me out, not coached me out, not gave me better techniques for climbing, not provided a ladder and instructions, but lifted me out. Divine intervention, supernatural deliverance, the kind of help that can only come from above, that requires power beyond human capacity, that transforms impossibility into testimony. Lifted, with tenderness, with care, with the same gentle strength that a parent uses to lift a child who has fallen and cannot get up alone. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. After the instability of the pit, after the uncertainty of sinking ground, solid rock feels like a miracle. This rock is not just any stone, but the kind of foundation that can support any weight, that remains stable through any storm, that provides security for whatever structure might be built upon it. Your feet, which had been sliding and searching for anything solid, are now firmly planted on stone that will never shift, never crumble, never prove inadequate for the pressures of life. A firm place to stand. Standing requires balance, confidence, strength. When you have a firm place to stand, you can face challenges without fear of falling. You can reach out to help others without losing your own stability. You can build a life that has permanence and purpose because it rests on an unshakable foundation. This is what God provides for those He rescues. Not just escape from the pit, but establishment on the rock. Not just deliverance from the problem, but positioning for a future filled with hope and possibility. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him. After rescue comes music. After deliverance comes celebration. After salvation comes song. But this is not just any song, not a tune you learned from someone else or borrowed from another's experience. This is a new song, unique to your story, composed from the notes of your particular journey, written in the key of your personal relationship with the one who brought you up from the pit. This song tells your story, proclaims your testimony, declares the goodness of God in a voice that only you can provide. A hymn of praise to our God. The song is not about you, though it comes from you. It is not a celebration of your strength, though it acknowledges your journey. It is praise to God, recognition of His goodness, testimony to His faithfulness, worship offered by one who knows firsthand what it means to be rescued, to be lifted, to be established on solid ground. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him. Your song becomes a beacon for others who are still in their pits, still trapped in their mud and mire, still searching for solid ground. They see what God has done in your life. They hear the authenticity in your voice. They witness the transformation that only divine intervention can produce. And they are drawn to trust the same God who proved His faithfulness in your story. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, who does not look to the proud, to those who turn aside to false gods. Here is the secret, the key that unlocks every blessing, the principle that governs the universe of divine favor. Trust in the Lord. Not trust plus human backup plans, not trust verified by circumstantial evidence, not trust conditional on getting what you want when you want it, but simple, pure, uncomplicated trust. The kind of trust that a child has in a good parent. The kind of trust that says yes before knowing all the details. The kind of trust that remains steady even when everything else is shaking. Who does not look to the proud, to those who turn aside to false gods. This is the negative side of trust, the discipline of not hedging your bets, not keeping alternative gods on standby just in case the real God fails to come through. The proud are those who believe they can manage their own lives, who trust in their own wisdom and strength and resources. False gods are anything that promises to provide what only God can give, whether that is security, significance, satisfaction, or salvation. To trust in the Lord means to consciously, deliberately, consistently choose Him over every alternative, to refuse the temptation to diversify your faith portfolio, to put all your spiritual eggs in one basket, because that basket is held by hands that never drop anything precious. Many, Lord my God, are the wonders you have done, the things you planned for us. No one can recount to you. Were I to speak and tell of them, they would be too many to declare. Stop for a moment and consider the wonders, the inexplicable kindnesses, the surprising interventions, the perfect timing, the open doors, the closed doors that in retrospect were blessings, the people who appeared in your life exactly when you needed them, the resources that materialized just as the need became critical, the strength that came when you thought you had reached the end of your endurance. Many, Lord my God, are the wonders you have done, the things you planned for us. Before you knew you needed them, before you knew to ask for them, before you even knew such things were possible, God was planning them. Not reacting to your crises, not scrambling to solve unexpected problems, not making last-minute adjustments to accommodate your failures, but planning, with infinite wisdom, with perfect love, with complete knowledge of everything you would face, and everything you would need. The plans of God for your life are plans for good and not for evil, plans to give you a future and a hope, plans that take into account not just your immediate circumstances, but your eternal destiny. No one can recount to you. Were I to speak and tell of them, they would be too many to declare. This is the overwhelming reality of divine goodness, the impossibility of ever fully cataloging all the ways God has shown his love, provided for your needs, protected you from harm, guided your steps, answered your prayers, exceeded your expectations, and proven his faithfulness. Too many to declare. A lifetime would not be enough to tell them all. Eternity itself will be filled with the ongoing discovery of new layers of God's goodness, new evidences of his love, new reasons for gratitude and praise. The stars continue their ancient dance overhead as the Good Shepherd's voice takes on an even more intimate tone, as if he is sharing secrets that are meant for your ears alone, truths that are too precious to be shouted, but must be whispered into hearts that are ready to receive them. The night air carries the scent of jasmine and honeysuckle, flowers that bloom in darkness, that release their sweetest fragrance when the sun has set and the world has grown quiet. Another psalm begins to unfold, one that speaks to the universal human experience of feeling overwhelmed, of facing challenges that seem too great for your strength, of needing help that can only come from above. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. The repetition of this psalm is no accident. For truth this important bears repeating, like a bell that rings across the valley to remind travelers of the way home. I lift up my eyes. There is something powerful about this simple action, this deliberate choice to look up rather than down, to focus on what is above rather than what is around, to seek perspective that rises above the immediate circumstances that threaten to overwhelm. To the mountains. In the ancient world, mountains were places of encounter with God, places where heaven and earth seemed to touch, places where the divine broke through into human experience. Mount Sinai, where Moses received the law. Mount Carmel, where Elijah called down fire from heaven. Mount Hermon, where Jesus was transfigured before his disciples. Mount Calvary, where love conquered death and opened the way to eternal life. Mountains represent not just physical elevation, but spiritual elevation, not just geographical landmarks, but theological realities. Where does my help come from? This is the crucial question, the one that determines everything else about how you live, how you respond to challenges, how you face uncertainty, how you deal with fear. Where do you look when trouble comes? Where do you turn when your own resources prove inadequate? Where do you place your hope when human solutions fall short? The answer to this question shapes everything else about your spiritual life, everything else about your relationship with God, everything else about your experience of peace in the midst of turmoil. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, not from the mountains themselves, impressive as they are, not from human institutions, reliable as they sometimes prove to be, not from personal achievements, significant as they might feel, not from financial resources, helpful as they can be, not from other people, loving as they may be, but from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. The source of help is the source of everything else, the one who brought all things into existence and sustains them by the word of his power, the one whose wisdom designed every atom and whose love motivates every blessing. As this truth settles once again into your spirit, the Good Shepherd begins to speak of sleep itself, of the gift that God gives to those he loves, of the sacred act of surrender that happens every time you close your eyes and trust that the world will continue without your conscious participation. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat. Here is a picture of the driven life, the anxious life, the life that believes that everything depends on human effort and constant vigilance. Rising early not for the joy of greeting the day or spending time with God, but out of anxiety about all that must be accomplished. staying up late, not for the pleasure of a peaceful evening or meaningful conversation, but out of fear that there is never enough time, never enough effort, never enough control over outcomes. Toiling for food to eat, working not just to meet legitimate needs, but out of the compulsive drive to somehow earn security, to guarantee outcomes, to control variables that are ultimately beyond human control. For he grants sleep to those he loves. What a revolutionary concept this presents to the modern mind. The idea that sleep is not a weakness to be minimized or an obstacle to productivity, but a gift to be received, a blessing to be enjoyed, a demonstration of divine love. Sleep requires trust. Every time you close your eyes and surrender consciousness, you are performing an act of faith, trusting that you can let go of control without everything falling apart, trusting that there is someone else keeping watch while you rest, trusting that your value does not depend on your constant activity. Those he loves. Sleep is granted not to those who have earned it through perfect performance, not to those who have solved all their problems and eliminated all their stress, not to those who have achieved some level of spiritual maturity that makes them worthy of rest. Sleep is granted to those he loves, and he loves everyone, which means sleep is available to you not because of what you have done, but because of who you are, not because you deserve it, but because he delights in giving good gifts to his children. The quality of the night air seems to change now, becoming somehow softer, more embracing, more infused with peace. Your breathing naturally slows and deepens. Your muscles begin to release tension you did not even know you were carrying. Your mind starts to quiet its constant chatter and settle into the rhythm of rest. The Good Shepherd's voice continues, but it seems to be coming from closer now, as if he is speaking directly into your ear, as if his words are being written directly on your heart. He speaks of another psalm, one that captures the essence of what it means to find your security in God rather than in circumstances, your peace in his presence rather than in the presence of perfect conditions. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High. This invitation is extended to whoever, not just to the spiritually elite, not just to those who have achieved some high level of religious accomplishment, not just to those who have their lives perfectly organized and their problems completely solved. Whoever. That includes you, right now, as you are, with whatever struggles you are facing, whatever fears you are carrying, whatever uncertainties are troubling your sleep. You are invited to dwell, not just to visit occasionally or to stop by when things get really bad, but to take up residence, to make your home in the shelter of the Most High. The shelter of the Most High. Picture this shelter now, not a flimsy structure that might collapse in the first strong wind, but a shelter built by the Most High, the one whose power is unlimited, whose wisdom is perfect, whose love never fails. This is shelter that can withstand any storm, protection that can defend against any threat, safety that does not depend on circumstances, but on the character of the one who provides it. This shelter is not a place you have to find or fight your way to, but a place you can enter simply by choosing to trust, simply by deciding to place your confidence in God rather than in your own ability to manage life. Will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Rest, not just physical rest, but spiritual rest, emotional rest, mental rest, the kind of rest that reaches into every part of your being and brings peace to places that have been troubled for far too long. In the shadow of the Almighty, that place of cooling relief from the harsh sun of life's pressures, that place of protection from the storms that would otherwise overwhelm you, that place where you can be yourself, without pretense or performance, because you are loved completely and unconditionally. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. This becomes your declaration, your confession, your statement of faith that rises from a heart that has found its true home. He is my refuge, the place you run to when trouble comes, the safe harbor where you can weather any storm. My fortress, the stronghold that cannot be breached by any enemy, the defense that never fails. My God, not a distant deity or philosophical concept, but personal, intimate, involved in every detail of your life. In whom I trust, present tense, active choice, ongoing decision to place your confidence in one who is absolutely trustworthy. Surely he will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. The threats are real. The dangers are genuine. The enemies that seek to harm you are not imaginary. The fowler's snare, those hidden traps that seek to catch you unaware, to entangle you in situations that will damage your soul or destroy your peace. The deadly pestilence, those diseases of body and spirit that spread through a fallen world, that seek to corrupt and destroy everything beautiful and good. But surely, without doubt, without question, without exception, he will save you. Not might save, not could save if conditions are right, but will save. This is the promise, the guarantee, the absolute assurance that comes with dwelling in the shelter of the Most High. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. What tender imagery this presents! The picture of God as a great bird spreading protective wings over those who trust in him, gathering them close to his heart, sheltering them from every wind that would harm them. Under his wings you will find refuge, the most secure place in all the universe, the place where perfect love provides perfect protection, where infinite power is employed on behalf of finite creatures who have learned to trust. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart, not your own faithfulness, which comes and goes depending on your mood and circumstances and level of spiritual energy, but his faithfulness, which never wavers, never diminishes, never takes a day off. This faithfulness becomes your shield, deflecting every arrow of doubt or despair that might be shot in your direction. This faithfulness becomes your rampart, the wall of defense that surrounds you on every side, making you safe from every attack of the enemy. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. Here is freedom from fear in its most comprehensive form. Fear that is conquered, not by denying the existence of threats, but by finding security in the one who is greater than any threat. The terror of night, those fears that seem to multiply in the darkness, that whisper their worst possibilities when your defenses are down and your spirit is tired. The arrow that flies by day, those sudden attacks that come without warning, those crises that explode into your life and threaten to destroy everything you have built. The pestilence that stalks in the darkness, those hidden dangers that work their damage unseen, those slow erosions of health or relationships, or hope that creep in when you are not paying attention. The plague that destroys at midday, those overwhelming catastrophes that strike when you least expect them. When life seems to be going well, and suddenly everything changes. You will not fear. Not because these things cannot happen, but because even if they do happen, you are held by one who is stronger than all of them combined, who can bring good out of evil, who can work all things together for the good of those who love him, who can transform even the worst circumstances into testimonies of his grace and power. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. This is not a promise of exemption from all difficulty, but a promise of special protection for those who have made the Lord their dwelling place. Even when disaster strikes all around you, even when it seems like everyone else is being affected by the crisis, even when the statistics suggest that you should be worried, it will not come near you. Not because you are better than others, or more deserving of protection, but because you have learned the secret of abiding in the shelter of the Most High, because you have discovered what it means to rest in the shadow of the Almighty. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. From your place of safety, from your position of security in God's protection, you will have perspective on the temporary nature of evil's apparent victory, the ultimate justice that governs the universe, the certainty that righteousness will prevail, and that those who oppose God's purposes will ultimately be unsuccessful. This is not vindictive satisfaction in the suffering of others, but the peace that comes from knowing that justice will ultimately be done, that wrongs will be made right, that God's character guarantees that evil cannot win in the end. If you say, "The Lord is my refuge," and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent. The promise is conditional, not on your perfect performance, but on your declaration of faith, your decision to say with your mouth and believe in your heart that the Lord is your refuge. When you make this declaration, when you choose to make the Most High your dwelling place, rather than trusting in human securities, then protection follows. No harm will overtake you, not because bad things never happen to good people, but because no harm can separate you from the love of God. No disaster can thwart his purposes for your life. No enemy can snatch you out of his hand. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Here is one of the most remarkable promises in all of Scripture, the assignment of angelic protection to those who trust in God. Angels, those mighty beings who serve at the throne of God, who have power beyond human comprehension, who move at the speed of thought and fight with the strength of heaven itself, are commanded concerning you. Not suggested, not invited, not requested, but commanded. God speaks and angels respond, and they are given specific instructions about your protection, your guidance, your welfare, to guard you in all your ways, not just on Sundays, not just when you are being especially spiritual, not just when you are walking in perfect obedience, but in all your ways. Every path you take, every decision you make, every step of your journey through life, all of it is covered by angelic protection. They guard you from dangers you never know about, from accidents that almost happen, from decisions that would have led to disaster, from influences that would have drawn you away from God's best for your life. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. The care is so detailed, so personal, so comprehensive that even something as small as striking your foot against a stone is covered by divine protection. This is not the distant care of a God who is too busy managing the universe to pay attention to small details, but the intimate attention of a Father who numbers every hair on your head, who knows when a sparrow falls to the ground, who cares about every aspect of your well-being. You will tread on the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. This is the authority that comes with divine protection, the power that is available to those who dwell in the shelter of the Most High. Lions and cobras, great lions and serpents, representing the most dangerous enemies, the most threatening forces, the most frightening opposition. But when you are walking under divine protection, when you are covered by angelic guard, when you are abiding in the shadow of the Almighty, these forces lose their power to harm you. You can walk with confidence even through the most dangerous territory, because you are not walking alone. The Good Shepherd pauses now in his recitation of the psalm, and in the silence that follows, you become aware of something you had not noticed before. The night air is filled with a subtle music, a harmony so beautiful and complex that it seems to come from the very fabric of creation itself. It is as if every star is singing its own note, every flower is contributing its own voice, every blade of grass is adding its own whisper to a cosmic symphony of praise. Listen carefully, and you can hear the various parts of this celestial orchestra. The wind in the trees provides the rhythm section, steady and sure, keeping time with the heartbeat of the universe. The water lapping gently against the shore adds percussion, soft and soothing, like the sound of eternity itself breathing. Night birds contribute their voices, clear and pure, singing songs they learned in the first garden before sin entered the world. And underneath it all, barely audible, but somehow more real than all the rest, is the sound of love itself, the fundamental frequency on which all of creation is tuned, the note that holds everything together and gives meaning to every other sound. This is the music that plays constantly in the background of existence, the soundtrack of a universe that was created by a God who delights in beauty, who finds joy in harmony, who speaks in melodies that touch the soul in ways that mere words never could. Most of the time, the noise of daily life drowns out this music, The chaos of human activity makes it impossible to hear the deeper harmonies that are always playing. But here, in this place of rest, in this moment of peace, in this sanctuary of stillness, the cosmic symphony becomes audible again. And you remember what you had forgotten, that you live in a universe that is fundamentally musical, fundamentally beautiful, fundamentally good. The Good Shepherd's voice joins this cosmic chorus now, not interrupting it, but harmonizing with it, adding his own voice to the eternal song of love. He speaks of another song, one that captures the joy of those who have learned to live in the rhythm of divine grace, who have discovered the secret of finding rest even in the midst of activity, peace even in the midst of responsibility. Because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. Here is the reason behind all the promises, the motivation behind all the protection, the foundation upon which all the blessings rest. Because he loves me, not because of anything you have done or achieved or earned, not because you are better than others or more deserving of favor, but simply because you love him. Love recognizes love, and when God sees love for himself in a human heart, he responds with all the resources of heaven. I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. To acknowledge his name is to recognize who he is, to honor his character, to respect his authority, to trust in his goodness. His name represents everything about him that is true and beautiful and powerful and loving. When you acknowledge his name, you are declaring your faith in his ability to save, your confidence in his willingness to help, your trust in his promise to never leave you or forsake you. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. This is the promise of answered prayer, the guarantee that your voice matters to God, that your cries for help will not go unheard, that your pleas for assistance will not be ignored. He will call and I will answer. Not maybe, not if conditions are right, not when he deserves it, but without qualification, without hesitation, without delay. I will be with him in trouble, not just watching from a distance, not just offering sympathy from afar, but present in the midst of the difficulty, sharing the burden, providing strength, offering comfort. I will deliver him and honor him. Deliverance comes in many forms, sometimes through changing circumstances, sometimes through changing hearts, sometimes through providing strength to endure, sometimes through opening doors that seemed permanently closed. But deliverance always comes because God is faithful to his promises, because his love never fails, because his power is sufficient for every situation. And honor, the restoration of dignity, the recognition of worth, the celebration of value that comes from being loved by God. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Long life, not just many years, but years that are full and meaningful and productive, years that matter, years that contribute to the greater good, years that reflect the purposes of God, satisfaction, the deep contentment that comes from living in alignment with divine will, from knowing that your life has meaning, from experiencing the fulfillment that can only come from walking in relationship with your Creator. And salvation, not just rescue from danger, but the full experience of what it means to be redeemed, to be restored, to be made new, to be given eternal life that begins now and continues forever. As these promises wash over your spirit, like waves of warm water, you become aware that your breathing is naturally synchronized with the rhythm of the cosmic symphony, that your heartbeat has aligned with the pulse of divine love, that every cell in your body is responding to the healing presence of the one who created you, who knows you, who loves you with a love that will never end. The stars overhead seem to pulse with new brilliance, as if they are responding to the music that fills the night air, as if they too are participants in this cosmic celebration of divine love and faithfulness. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of light, reminding you that you are part of something infinitely larger than your immediate circumstances, something beautiful beyond description, something meaningful beyond comprehension. The Good Shepherd rises once more, and extends his hand to you, inviting you to walk with him along a path that seems to be made of starlight itself, a path that leads deeper into the mystery of divine love, deeper into the experience of perfect peace, deeper into the rest that God gives to those he loves. Your feet barely seem to touch the ground as you walk together, and you realize that this is what it means to walk by faith, to move forward, not because you can see every step of the way, but because you trust the one who is leading you. As you walk, he speaks of another psalm, one that celebrates the faithfulness of God across generations, the steadfast love that endures from everlasting to everlasting, the mercy that is new every morning and never comes to an end. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. Gratitude is not just a polite response to divine blessing, but a recognition of reality, an acknowledgement of truth, a declaration of what is actually the case about God's character and actions. He is good, not sometimes good, not good when circumstances are favorable, not good only to certain people, but good in his essential nature, good in every action, good in every decision, good in every purpose. This goodness is the foundation of everything else about God, the source from which all his other attributes flow, the guarantee that his love is real, his mercy is genuine, his promises are trustworthy, his love endures forever. Forever is a long time, longer than you can imagine, longer than human language can express, longer than the universe itself will exist in its current form. But God's love endures forever, which means it will outlast every circumstance that troubles you, every fear that haunts you, every doubt that undermines your peace. Forever means that there will never be a moment when God's love for you is exhausted, never a situation where his care for you reaches its limit, never a failure on your part that causes him to withdraw his affection. Let Israel say, his love endures forever. Let the house of Aaron say, his love endures forever. Let those who fear the Lord say, his love endures forever. The refrain echoes through the song like a bell tolling across the countryside, calling all creation to acknowledge what is true, to declare what is certain, to proclaim what never changes. Every group, every individual, every heart that has learned to fear the Lord in the sense of reverent awe and loving respect, all are invited to join the chorus, to add their voice to the eternal song of praise. When hard pressed, I cried to the Lord. He brought me into a spacious place. The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Here is the testimony of one who has experienced divine deliverance, who has learned through personal experience what it means to cry out to God in desperation and find that he is faithful to respond. Hard-pressed, squeezed by circumstances, trapped by situations that seem to have no solution, no way out, no hope of resolution. But the cry went up to the Lord, and he brought me into a spacious place. A spacious place, room to breathe, room to move, room to think clearly and act wisely. After the confinement of crisis, after the claustrophobia of desperation, after the crushing weight of problems that seem to have no solution, God opens up space. Not just physical space, though that may be part of it, but spiritual space, emotional space, mental space, room for hope to grow, room for faith to flourish, room for joy to return, room for peace to take up residence in the heart once again. The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? This is the confidence that comes from divine companionship, the courage that flows from knowing that you are not facing your challenges alone. The Lord is with me. Not was with me in the past when things were easier, not will be with me in the future when I get my act together, but is with me right now, in this moment, in this situation, in whatever circumstances are causing anxiety or fear. With this presence comes freedom from fear, not because there are no threats, but because there is one who is greater than any threat. What can mere mortals do to me? This is not arrogance or contempt for human power, but perspective that comes from understanding the difference between temporal and eternal, between human limitations and divine resources, between what people can do to your body and what God can do for your soul. Mere mortals, with all their schemes and threats and intimidation tactics, suddenly seem much less formidable when viewed from the perspective of divine protection, much less threatening when measured against the power of the One who spoke the universe into existence. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. Here is wisdom that can only be learned through experience, through trying both approaches and discovering which one actually works. Humans, even the best of them, are limited in their ability to help, finite in their resources, mortal in their duration. Even princes, those with the greatest earthly power and influence, are still subject to change, still vulnerable to circumstances beyond their control, still unable to guarantee outcomes or provide ultimate security. But the Lord is unlimited in his ability to help, infinite in his resources, eternal in his duration. He never changes, never becomes unavailable, never runs out of options, never finds himself facing a problem he cannot solve. This is not to disparage human relationships or earthly authorities, both of which have their proper place in God's design, but to keep them in perspective, to understand their limitations, to avoid the disappointment that comes from expecting them to provide what only God can give. All the nations surrounded me, but in the name of the Lord, the first cut them off. They surrounded me on every side, but in the name of the Lord, the first cut them off. They swarmed around me like bees, but they were consumed as quickly as burning thorns. In the name of the Lord, the first cut them off. Here is the picture of overwhelming opposition, of being outnumbered and outgunned, of facing enemies that seemed to come from every direction at once. All the nations, not just a few troublemakers, but organized, coordinated, comprehensive opposition, surrounded on every side, no avenue of escape visible, no strategy apparent for dealing with such massive resistance. But in the name of the Lord, the first cut them off. The name of the Lord becomes a weapon more powerful than any earthly army, a force that can overcome any opposition, a source of strength that makes victory possible even against impossible odds. They swarmed around me like bees, creating the kind of frenzied, chaotic, overwhelming attack that would normally be unstoppable. But they were consumed as quickly as burning thorns, their apparent strength proving to be as temporary as dry brush in a fire. Their coordinated assault dissolving as quickly as it had formed. I was pushed back and about to fall, but the Lord helped me. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. Here is honest acknowledgement of human weakness, of moments when defeat seemed certain, when falling seemed inevitable, when personal resources proved completely inadequate for the challenge at hand. Pushed back, losing ground, about to fall, the situation deteriorating rapidly with no human solution in sight. But the Lord helped me. Divine intervention at the crucial moment. Supernatural assistance exactly when it was needed most. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. Present tense declarations of current reality, not past experience or future hope, but present possession. My strength, not just additional strength added to my own, but the source of all strength, the wellspring from which all power flows. My defense, not just backup protection, but primary security, the main line of resistance against every attack. My salvation, not just rescue from immediate danger, but comprehensive deliverance that encompasses every aspect of life and extends into eternity. Shouts of joy and victory resound in the tents of the righteous. The Lord's right hand has done mighty things. The Lord's right hand is lifted high. The Lord's right hand has done mighty things. After deliverance comes celebration. After salvation comes singing. After victory comes voices raised in praise. Shouts of joy and victory, not quiet whispers of relief, but loud proclamations of triumph. Public declarations of what God has done. Testimonies that inspire faith in others who may be facing their own battles. The Lord's right hand, the symbol of divine power and authority, the instrument through which God acts in human history. the means by which he accomplishes his purposes in the earth. Mighty things, not small adjustments or minor improvements, but major interventions. Significant changes, transformations that can only be attributed to divine power. The repetition emphasizes the wonder, the amazement, the almost incredulous joy of those who have witnessed firsthand what God can do when he chooses to act on behalf of his people. I will not die but live, and will proclaim what the Lord has done. The Lord has chastened me severely, but he has not given me over to death. Here is the testimony of one who has been through the valley of the shadow of death and emerged on the other side, who has faced circumstances that threatened not just comfort or prosperity, but life itself, and discovered that God's purposes cannot be thwarted by human opposition or earthly circumstances. I will not die, but live. A declaration of faith that looks beyond present circumstances to divine promises, beyond current threats to eternal purposes, beyond apparent defeat to ultimate victory, and will proclaim what the Lord has done. The recognition that survival is not an end in itself, but a means to something greater, an opportunity to testify to God's goodness, a platform for declaring his faithfulness to others who need to hear such testimony. The Lord has chastened me severely, honest acknowledgement that God's deliverance does not always come without cost, that divine discipline is sometimes part of divine love, that growth often requires pressure and testing and challenge. But he has not given me over to death, the final boundary that God maintains, the ultimate protection that he provides, the line that he will not allow to be crossed when his purposes require continued life. Open for me the gates of the righteous. I will enter and give thanks to the Lord. This is the gate of the Lord. The righteous enter through it. I will give thanks to you, for you answered me. You have become my salvation. Here is the invitation to enter into the presence of God, not as a stranger or supplicant, but as one who belongs, one who has a right to be there, one who is welcomed and celebrated. The gates of the righteous, not barriers to keep people out, but doors to invite people in, portals that provide access to the very throne room of heaven. This is the gate of the Lord. The righteous enter through it. The righteous, not those who have achieved moral perfection, but those who have been made righteous by faith, who have been clothed with the righteousness of Christ, who have been declared righteous by divine grace rather than human achievement. They enter through it, not by forcing their way or earning their access, but by simple faith, by accepting the invitation, by walking through the door that God has opened for them. I will give thanks to you, for you answered me. You have become my salvation. Gratitude flows naturally from a heart that has experienced divine intervention. Thanksgiving rises spontaneously from lips that have been touched by grace. You answered me. Recognition that prayer is not just talking to yourself or hoping for the best, but actual communication with a God who hears and responds. You have become my salvation, not just provided salvation as an external gift, but become salvation in the most personal, intimate, experiential sense. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Here is one of the most significant prophetic passages in all of Scripture, a reference to the Messiah who would be rejected by the religious establishment of his day, but would become the foundation upon which God's eternal kingdom would be built. The stone the builders rejected, seeming insignificant, apparently unsuitable, dismissed by those who considered themselves experts in construction, but has become the cornerstone, the most important stone in the entire structure, the one upon which everything else depends, the one that determines the alignment and stability of the whole building. The Lord has done this. Divine reversal of human judgment, supernatural transformation of apparent failure into ultimate success. God's wisdom proving superior to human understanding in ways that could never have been predicted or imagined. And it is marvelous in our eyes. The wonder that comes from witnessing divine intervention, the amazement that fills hearts that have seen God work in ways that defy human logic, the awe that overwhelms those who recognize that they have been privileged to observe the hand of God moving in history. The Lord has done it this very day. Let us rejoice today and be glad. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Here is the call to present celebration, to current joy, to immediate recognition of divine goodness. This very day, not tomorrow when things might be better, not yesterday when memories were sweeter, but today, right now, in this moment, in these circumstances. The Lord has done it. Whatever needs to be done, whatever intervention was required, whatever deliverance was necessary. Let us rejoice today and be glad. An invitation to choose joy regardless of circumstances. To decide to celebrate even when external conditions might not seem to warrant celebration. To recognize that the goodness of God is always sufficient reason for gladness. This is the day the Lord has made. Every day, including this day, including the day you are living right now with all its challenges and uncertainties and imperfections. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, not in spite of it, but in it, finding joy in the very fabric of existence, discovering gladness in the simple fact of being alive, recognizing that every day is a gift from God that deserves to be received with gratitude and celebrated with enthusiasm. Lord, save us. Lord, grant us success. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. From the house of the Lord, we bless you. The prayers of the people rise like incense, carrying their deepest longings and most urgent needs into the presence of the one who delights to answer prayer. Save us, the cry for deliverance that echoes through every generation, the plea for help that rises from every heart that recognizes its need for divine intervention. Grant us success, not the kind of success that the world values, but the kind that comes from alignment with divine purposes, from walking in God's will, from achieving the goals that matter for eternity. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, the recognition of divine authority, the acknowledgement of heaven's endorsement, the celebration of those who carry God's approval and represent his purposes in the earth. From the house of the Lord we bless you, the response of worship, the offering of praise, the return of blessing to the one who is the source of all blessing. The Lord is God, and he has made his light shine on us. With boughs in hand, join in the festal procession up to the horns of the altar. Here is the climactic declaration, the ultimate truth that gives meaning to everything else. The Lord is God, not one God among many, not a regional deity with limited jurisdiction, not a philosophical concept or wishful thinking, but God in the fullest, most complete, most absolute sense. He is the one who created all things, who sustains all things, who governs all things, who will ultimately judge all things and make all things new. And he has made his light shine on us, divine illumination, heavenly brightness, the light that drives away darkness and reveals truth and brings warmth and enables growth. His light, not harsh or blinding, but gentle and revealing, not exposing in order to shame, but illuminating in order to heal, not judging in order to condemn, but shining in order to guide and bless and transform. With boughs in hand, join in the festal procession up to the horns of the altar. The celebration becomes communal, individual testimony, joining with corporate worship, personal experience of God's goodness, blending with the praise of the entire community of faith. Boughs in hand, signs of victory and joy, symbols of life and growth and blessing. The festal procession, not a somber march or dutiful obligation, but joyful movement, enthusiastic participation, glad involvement in the worship of the one who deserves all praise. Up to the horns of the altar, the place where sacrifices were offered, where atonement was made, where divine justice and mercy met in perfect harmony. But now the altar represents not just the place where sin is dealt with, but the place where gratitude is expressed, where praise is offered, where hearts that have been touched by grace return thanksgiving to the one who has blessed them beyond measure. You are my God, and I will praise you. You are my God, and I will exalt you. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. The song concludes with personal declaration and eternal truth. You are my God, not just God in general, but my God in particular. Not just the God of the universe, but the God of my heart. not just the creator of all things, but the lover of my soul. And I will praise you, not grudgingly or occasionally, but enthusiastically and consistently, not because I have to, but because I want to, not as duty, but as delight. You are my God, and I will exalt you, lifting him up in worship, magnifying his name in testimony, declaring his goodness in song and story, and the very living of life itself. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, his love endures forever. The refrain returns one final time, the golden thread that runs through all of Scripture, the fundamental truth that governs the universe, and gives hope to every heart that is willing to receive it. As the psalm draws to its close, a cosmic symphony that has been playing throughout the night seems to swell to a crescendo, every voice in creation joining in the eternal song of praise to the one who is worthy of all honor and glory and power and praise. The stars sing their ancient harmonies. The wind adds its voice to the chorus. The water provides rhythm like the heartbeat of eternity itself. And somewhere in the midst of it all, your own voice joins the celebration, adding its unique note to the symphony that will continue long after this earth has passed away. The Good Shepherd draws closer to you now, his presence more real than the ground beneath your feet, more substantial than the air you breathe, more certain than your own heartbeat. His eyes meet yours, and in them you see not just love but delight, not just acceptance but celebration, not just forgiveness but joy. This is how God looks at you, not with disappointment or frustration or impatience, but with the kind of love that parents have for their children, the kind of joy that friends have in each other's company, the kind of delight that lovers take in simply being together. He speaks now in a voice that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, from outside yourself and from within your deepest heart, carrying words that you have needed to hear for longer than you can remember, truths that your soul has been hungry for without even knowing it was starving. My beloved child, he says, and the words settle into your spirit like warm honey, like healing balm, like the first rain after a long drought. You have been carrying burdens that were never meant for your shoulders, worrying about outcomes that are in my hands, trying to control circumstances that are beyond your ability to manage. Tonight, in this place, in this moment, I invite you to lay them all down. Every fear that has robbed you of sleep, every anxiety that has stolen your peace, every worry that has clouded your joy, every burden that has bent your back and wearied your soul. Lay them all down and let me carry them, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. You are precious to me, more valuable than all the treasures of earth, more beautiful than all the wonders of creation, more important than all the achievements of humanity. You are not an accident or an afterthought or a cosmic mistake. You are a deliberate creation, carefully designed, purposefully placed in this world at this time, for reasons that stretch into eternity. I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. I called you by name before the foundations of the earth were laid. I loved you before time began, and I will love you long after time has ended. The mistakes you have made do not define you. The failures you have experienced do not diminish you. The sins you have committed do not disqualify you from my love. I am the God of new beginnings, of fresh starts, of second chances and third chances and chances beyond counting. My mercy is new every morning. My grace is sufficient for every failure. My love covers every sin and transforms every sorrow into joy. You are not too far gone to be rescued, too broken to be restored, too lost to be found. I am the Good Shepherd who leaves the 99 to search for the one, who rejoices more over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance, who will never give up on you no matter how far you wander or how long you stay away. Your heart may have grown cold, but I can kindle the fire again. Your faith may have grown weak, but I can strengthen it again. Your hope may have died, but I am the resurrection and the life, and I can bring hope back from the grave. The future that stretches before you is not determined by your past mistakes or present circumstances, but by my promises and my power to fulfill them. I have plans for you, plans for good and not for evil, plans to give you a future and a hope. These plans were made in love, designed in wisdom, guaranteed by my faithfulness. They cannot be thwarted by human opposition, cannot be derailed by unexpected circumstances, cannot be canceled by your failures, or postponed by your delays. I am working all things together for your good, even the things that seem harmful, even the things that cause pain, even the things that make no sense from your limited perspective. My ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. And what looks like disaster from your viewpoint may be the very thing I use to bring about the greatest blessing of your life. Trust me with tomorrow, for I am already there waiting for you. Trust me with your relationships, for I know how to heal what is broken and restore what has been lost. Trust me with your finances, for I own the cattle on 1,000 hills, and I know how to provide for your needs. Trust me with your health, for I am the great physician who can heal every disease and comfort every pain. Trust me with your dreams, for I planted them in your heart, and I know how to bring them to fruition in ways that will exceed your wildest imagination. You are entering now into a new season, a time of rest and restoration, a period of healing and renewal. The anxieties that have plagued you are losing their power. The fears that have haunted you are being exposed as the lies they are. The worries that have stolen your sleep are being replaced by the peace that passes understanding. You are being made new from the inside out, transformed by the renewing of your mind, changed by the power of my love working in your heart. Sleep now, beloved one. Sleep in the knowledge that you are watched over by one who never sleeps, protected by one whose power never fails, loved by one whose affection never wavers. Sleep knowing that when you wake, you will wake to new mercies, fresh grace, abundant love, and countless opportunities to experience the goodness of God in the land of the living. Let your breathing deepen and slow. Let your muscles relax and release the tension they have been holding. Let your mind quiet and cease its restless churning. Let your heart rest in the assurance that all is well, that you are safe, that you are loved beyond measure. The night watches are in my hands. A morning will come in my timing, and both the darkness and the light are gifts from me to be received with gratitude and peace. The angels are singing over you tonight, a lullaby of heaven that speaks of love that never ends, mercy that never fails, grace that is always sufficient. The Spirit of God is breathing peace into every corner of your being, filling you with rest that goes deeper than sleep, with healing that touches every wound, with hope that conquers every fear. You are my beloved child, and nothing can separate you from my love. Nothing in all creation can snatch you out of my hand. You are engraved on the palms of my hands, written on my heart, treasured in my thoughts. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Rest now in the everlasting arms. Sleep now in the shadow of the Almighty. Dream now of the future I have prepared for you. A future so bright, so beautiful, so full of hope and joy and peace that your heart cannot even begin to imagine what I have in store for those who love me. The night is deep now, and the stars are singing their ancient song of faithfulness. The earth itself seems to be holding its breath in reverence for this moment of perfect peace, this sanctuary of rest, this holy ground where heaven and earth meet in the heart of one who has learned to trust. And in this place, in this moment, surrounded by love that never fails and held by arms that never let go, sleep comes at last, sweet and deep and restoring, the gift of God to those he loves. The cosmic symphony plays on through the night, an eternal soundtrack of divine love, and your breathing becomes part of the rhythm, your heartbeat part of the melody, your very existence part of the song that all creation is singing to the one who is worthy of all praise. And in this music, in this peace, in this perfect rest, you discover what you have been searching for all along: home, safety, love, and the unshakable assurance that no matter what comes, no matter what changes, no matter what challenges arise, you are held by one who will never let you go. Sleep now, beloved. Sleep in peace. Sleep in hope. Sleep in the knowledge that you are loved with an everlasting love, and that love will carry you through this night and into the morning, through every challenge and into every blessing, through time and into eternity. All is well. All is peace. All is love. Rest now in the arms of the one who made you, who saved you, who keeps you, and who will never, ever let you go. The night settles deeper, the peace grows more profound, and the love of God surrounds you like a blanket woven from starlight and grace, covering you completely, keeping you safe, bringing you rest. And in this rest, in this peace, in this perfect love, you find what every soul is searching for: home.